Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so the score was 118-114. I can't seem to figure out which way this thing should be pointing. I think it was the other way, the way I had it first time, but yeah. Lakers didn't win the game, man. At the end of the day, we'll keep it here. 118-114 against the Phoenix Suns. Second game of the preseason in the Palm Desert, and it was 111 degrees out there, but it was real cold in the arena because we couldn't hit the side of a barn from behind the arc. It was a bricklaying fest out there. The first half was great. Of course, we talked about that at halftime. Bron and AD came out with so much energy. You know, really rung up fantastic stats to start the game. 18 points for Bron, 17 points for AD at the half. But of course, we didn't expect to see them in the second half. And I told you guys, even though we had a big lead, I didn't feel confident that we'd keep it because we basically had our starters carrying us through. And we'll be likely relying on our others in the second half, and that's not our strength this year. So that's really what it came down to. When the Phoenix Suns went to their bench, of course, just like Minnesota, their bench kicked our butt bad. Iguodala looked fantastic out there. Colin Gillespie looked great out there. What's his name? Damian Lee had a really nice game. Josh Okogie had a nice game. Their bench just stomped all out and really made our bench look bad as the Minnesota Timberwolves did. So that's kind of the story there for me. This tale of two halves. First half we dominated because we had Bron and AD. Second half we didn't, and that's it. That's how it goes. Happy birthday, Bronny. I can't say you played the greatest game of basketball though. It was 13 minutes that I'm sure we'd love to have back. He only accomplished 2 rebounds, and the rest was turnovers and fouls. It was a very bad night, and the haters are going to rejoice and sing and say he's the worst thing ever, and it's going to be hard to listen to. So, yeah, I'm going to try to do my best to avoid that type of coverage tonight because I already know they're gonna kill him. It's going to be horrible. And, you know, he's just got some developing to do, man. I think he had jitters out there. It was the first night he was out there with his dad on the floor at the same time. I thought that was a special moment. I would have loved to see in the regular season. But given the fact how bad it went, it's a good thing they got that out the way now. It was not a good night for the young fella. But at least he was able to play basketball in a Laker uniform on his birthday. That's an amazing accomplishment in and of itself, especially given where he's come from with the circumstances that happened with the heart. We love that he's here. We love that he's able to live his dream and his father's dream. Wish it would have went a better way for us. But this is a preseason, so we're going to have a lot of times to see them play great together. But this one, we definitely want to throw away. Just burn the tape of this one. It was not good. You know, wins and losses in the preseason are not as important. But how you lose can determine body language and how much energy is provided and how much people listen to the coaches and a lot of that stuff. You don't want to lose games a certain way, and I think we may have lost this game in a negative way for that type of thing. Rookie coach, young players, you know, these are not the type of games you want to be on the wrong side of when you have a 16-point lead and you kind of go to some things that don't work and you give up the lead. I think a lot of guys' weaknesses were on this full display tonight. And I really have a lot of blame to hand around if I really care about the win, right? This is the win I thought that we probably should be going after. And I don't think we necessarily punted it, like I said, with Minnesota, where we kind of just got away from things that I thought made sense. But I think it just kind of leaned in on some players who weren't playing well. So I guess you could define it as that. Shooting had a lot to do with it. 11 from 40 from behind the arc, 26%, something like that. Y'all do the math. I'm not good at math at all, but that was what it was from behind the arc. We really had some bricklayers out there. Max Christie, 3 for 14. He did hit 2 threes in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, which was clutch. But the majority of the game was a very bad shooting night for Max Christie. Dalton Connect, 1 for 7 from behind the arc. Not good shooting at all. Also, Austin Reeves, although he didn't play much in the second half, in the first half, he too was a bricklayer, even though he found other ways to help the team by getting assists and rebounds. So that was good. He accomplished doing more, but the shooting was horrible for Austin. So, yeah, man, this is a tough night. I think Jalen Hood-Schifino kind of took a step back from his first game, even though he was aggressive. I didn't think he was as sharp as this one. Had some turnovers in there, some bad launches of shots. I think you got to give credit to Phoenix defensive players, the individual defensive players they had on the floor. As I said, they would play physical. They did. The length that they had bothered us. Iguodala, Bobo, Okogie, Kaminsky was out there for a couple seconds. You know, they just had some really disruptive talent out there that really made life hard on our bench, and we kept our young guys out there to try to get some experience, and they were not able to overcome the Phoenix Suns. And that's kind of the kind way of putting it. If this were the regular season, I'd probably have more colorful way of putting it, but second game of the preseason, you just don't allow yourself to really feel that bad about a loss. It doesn't count. Obviously, we would have played Bron and AD, it would have been a different outcome. We walk out of there healthy. Nobody got hurt in this game. So these are things that you really think are positive, but I think there's a lot from this game that we can grow in regards to. I think our coaching staff can grow in this game from how some of the choices they went to. Jackson Hayes, I felt, got too many minutes in this one, 21 minutes. And then you take him out in the final 5 minutes. You bring in Colin Castleton, who's been sitting all game in the crunch minutes when you're giving back the lead. You're only up by 4 after being up by 15. I just thought that choice was a little iffy. So, like, these are the type of things, it's like, okay, I think Coach J.J. Redick is extremely intelligent and is going to learn from this, some of the decisions he made here. But one of the positive things I can take away, and although there are several, one of the things that come to mind is I thought that Cam Reddish took a step forward tonight, as I had been kind of hinting around that I see his piece as making more sense this year. I thought he came in, looked like he had, you know, taken his body very seriously in the offseason, recovering from the injuries. He looked like he had leaned down some. And I thought he did some good things on the defensive end, which is what I want to circle in regards to a point of emphasis for him. I don't believe in him offensively very much, but he's a very sneaky, talented defender who's going to come up with the basketball in some interesting ways. We talk about Jose Alvarado stealing inbounds passes. That's also something that I believe our guy Cam Reddish can do. So I'm hopeful he can stay healthy all season, and then I see opportunities for him to kind of play some defensive roles. And if we focus on the defense more so as a strength of his and what we're putting him in the game to do, I think we'll be very happy if he gives us what he gives us tonight every time we use him. So I thought he was somebody who stood out for me. You know, Bron and AD obviously were the standouts for sure. They look great. Mid-season form. You give them a great team and they're going to win the championship. That's the bottom line with those two. Unfortunately, we don't have a great team. What we do have is a bunch of guys that need to develop, and I think that was on high display tonight. If I want to pass some blame to somebody, and I'm going to be, this is going to sound ridiculous, low-hanging fruit, some people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but I blame Darvin Ham for this basketball game, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Max Christie was not looking good out there to me, and a lot of the problems that Max had just came from him not developing last year. Some of the stuff that we've seen him do, the mistakes that were made, he should be a year ahead in his development, and it was because that coaching staff last year neglected to develop him why he's not looking as good this year, in my humble opinion, as we need him to look. Now, of course, in the last game, he looked fantastic, but as I predicted, he would have games like this, and throughout the course of the season, he's going to have games like this, and we're going to have to live with it because we did not develop him. And so now we're asking him to play a bigger role. We've paid him, and that doesn't mean that he's ready for the role you've given him. It doesn't mean that he's going to be able to learn as quickly as you need him to justify the contract. And I just hate that this is the dynamic. And when I've, you know, over the last month or so, talking about this team and talking about Max Christie, said I figured he would, you know, struggle. This is the exact type of struggle that we saw on display tonight. Inaccurate shooting, technical mistakes with his footwork and stuff that turned the ball over, him not necessarily knowing how to create with a man in front of him, opportunities where he probably should be driving at the rim, being a little more crafty, tends to, like, you know, fumble and not necessarily have the confidence or the know-how to create his own shot. This is stuff that if he would have played a full 82 games last year, he would already be well ahead of the game if he would have just been given the role that ultimately we needed him to play last year to be our best selves. If our coach would have just been able to put him in that position consistently, this would be a different Max Christie we're looking at right now. And so for me, that's why I blame Darvin Ham for a lot of what went wrong out there, because I thought we leaned on Max Christie like we're forced to. And he showed us how far away he is from being ready for that. And this is the problem we're going to have with Max Christie all throughout the course of the beginning of the season, in my opinion. He ain't developed. He's not where he needs to be. He's going to get there. I'm very excited about him in the short, mid to long term. I think he's going to be a really nice player. But it would be wonderful if we had another player ahead of him right now in the depth chart that did what he does, so we wouldn't need to rely upon him out of necessity to do the things that he's just not developed to do, man. And so that's my problem. I don't blame Max Christie. I don't think we're going to see him play like this every night. But I'm telling you, if he'd have played 82 games last year, if he would have been given a healthy 20 minutes a night every night last year, none of this crap we saw tonight would be going on. None of it. He would be so much more refined on the basketball floor. So that's, you know, I just know that's going to be the issue, and I don't want people giving up on Max. I'm not going to give up on Max in any way, but I do expect this to be a reoccurring thing. This type of game is going to be reoccurring for him. So, yeah, not at all surprising, but very, very frustrating, and will be. So that's what I see there. You know, what else? Gabe Vincent, he played only a few minutes, but I really like what he's been giving us these first two games. He looked pretty solid. Rui Hachimura played better in the first half. Of course, he didn't play much in the second, if at all. So that wasn't really a thing. I thought Jackson Hayes played pretty good, did some good things defensively, blocked some shots, stuff like that, rebound. But as I said, I just thought that coach leaned on him a little too much and took him out at the wrong time. I really think he took him out at the wrong time. And so it's one of those situations where I like Jackson to get maybe 17 minutes as opposed to maybe 21. And I would prefer his length be on the floor in the final 5 minutes rather than pulling him out in the final 5 minutes and going to Castleton, who, you know, hasn't really done a whole lot in these first two games to make us very excited about his minutes. So, you know, it's preseason. You're going to try stuff. I don't have too much to say about that. Hopefully we'll have all the kinks worked out in our rotations and our choices in players throughout the course of the preseason and the beginning of the regular season. So, you know, it's a long season ahead at the end of the day. But I'd be lying if I said I felt all that great about this particular game. I felt pretty good about the first one against Minnesota. But this one just feels like a gut punch. It's a gut punch because we leaned on some players that didn't play well. And the whole Bronny James birthday, gave him minutes, he didn't play well thing really does make you roll your eyes if you're a player on that court looking for opportunities. If you're a guy like Max Lewis, this is not a good night because you should have been on the floor and they gave minutes to Bronny and he didn't do nothing with it. You know, that's the kind of thing, you know, I saw Cam Reddish's body language when they first checked Bronny into the game for him. And it's just the vibe, the overall vibe. It's like, yo, this is the 58 pick in the draft. It's Bron's son. He's not ready. Why is he getting minutes? You know what I mean? And they gave him a guaranteed contract. So it's like they're obligated to play him, even when it's not necessarily in our best interest to play him. And maybe other guys don't have that same rope. And I just worry about the chemistry of our team based on that overall scenario. So I sense that kind of vibe tonight. And I hope that J.J. Redick can kind of reel that in somehow, get that under control early so it does not continue to be something that I sense throughout the course of the beginning of the season. Because he can lose the locker room if he doesn't play that absolutely perfectly. And it's a difficult thing to manage, and LeBron's going to have to give him the rope to do it. But you just don't want to lose your team, man. You don't want to lose your team so early in this process, because you're trying to give Bronny the privilege that he's ultimately inherited in this situation. He has to go to the G League. He's going to have to develop, and he can't be thrown out there when he's playing bad to take away from the team on the court and take away from other guys who need to be on the court. So that's, you know, that's the elephant in the room. I hate to be the voice that says that, but I'm team first. I'm Laker first. I'm not a clout chaser. I don't care about none of that. I just want to see the team succeed, and I can already see where that's going to be a problem. I see it coming. And so, yeah, hopefully we get that. Hopefully I'm wrong, first of all. Hopefully I'm totally wrong about that. And I know the team is rooting for Bronny to succeed, but I think there are other guys who, quite honestly, probably a little more ready to play. And it's always going to be a roll of the eyes when we check Bronny in if those guys ain't getting opportunities that they probably would be better to use. It's Bronny's birthday, though, so I get it. 13 minutes ain't crazy. But, again, it's going to be a situation where it's an elephant in the room, and JJ's going to have to, you know, manage around it. So, yeah, that's the thing. I felt that tonight. I didn't feel that in the first one, but I definitely felt it tonight. So, you know, everybody's just gotta do the best they can. This is an impossible situation. I would tell those players, best thing you can do is keep your body language strong and just understand that life ain't fair, but you're living your dream. You know what I mean? You're on the NBA team, and there's a million people who want to get to the NBA. They'd love to be in your situation. So, well, while it may not necessarily feel fair to you that Bronny's getting an opportunity, somebody else sitting in China's feeling like it ain't fair that you got that opportunity. So let's just reel it in. Everybody needs to just be cool with the impossible circumstance that we're in. So that's what I feel there. Get that out the way. Otherwise, I just thought it was a real cold night of shooting, but I thought we improved in some areas that we were looking for. First of all, we attempted 43s. I think that we consider that a good thing. But what I will say is, it's kind of difficult to win when you're forcing threes that are not natural. And I felt like our team was forcing threes that weren't natural so that we can meet the quota of shooting threes, and it took away from some of our quality possessions. I really feel that way. Some of them threes, I think our guys jacked up, and they just ain't, that's not who we were for the last 2 years. And I think our three-point diet, while it was a little too few, it also kind of took away from the lost possessions. And if you look at how the Lakers were succeeding in the first half, it was because we were dominating in the paint. Bron and AD were scoring in the paint, and when other guys were getting in the paint as well. When you got them off the floor and you went to that jump shot, you know, intentional routine, it took away from the quality possessions, took away from the interior scoring, and ultimately took away from our opportunity to win the basketball game. So we got to find a sweet medium there. You do want to attempt more threes than we're prone to, but you also don't want them to be bad threes, or else you might as well just not take them at all. Just give the ball to the other team and have them run in transition. So I think that was the thing. Speed of game I thought was interesting tonight. I felt like some of our guys were a little step slow, just dealing with the speed of the game. And I think that'll come as the preseason progresses because, of course, it's still early for everybody. Another thing, Dalton Connect's defense. That was a struggle, man. We saw defensive sequences from several people tonight struggle. You know, Rui Hachimura getting blown past in a couple situations. Austin Reeves played some strong defense, but he also got scored on. Of course, that's something to be expected. But Dalton Connect, man, he's going to have to be more effective defensively. Effort is one thing, but he cannot be as easy to run past as he looked tonight. And we're going to have to do a good job of putting him on people that aren't going to be able to bump him away from them in that path to scoring. I think guys like Josh Okogie are a little too strong for him at this point. So we're going to have to do a much better job of just making sure that he's not asked to be on people that are going to exploit his weakness defensively. And I don't know how to do that because a lot of these forwards are going to do that very thing. So tonight was a bad night for Dalton Connect all the way around. The shooting wasn't good. The defense was really bad. And that's how I saw it. Just not a great Dalton night. He did hit a 3 down the stretch. You know, I felt like it was harder for him to find his way with the starters getting so many minutes and him coming in off the bench so late in the game. I think that might be part of the problem. You may want to try to work him into the equation sooner, JJ, so that he can get his rhythm sooner, because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that can sit a whole half and then come in with lesser guys and get his off. He's probably going to have to play more with AD and Bron, and they're going to have to be intentional on allowing him to get his shots off of their defense of being drawn to them. Just like you want to do with D'Lo and with Austin and Rui. I think it's most important that he have those quality minutes with quality players, because if you have him down with the lesser guys and they're able to zone in on him, it seems like it's difficult for him to get going, but he will be aggressive and bricking. So that is something that I just sensed tonight. We'll see more data to tell us if that's really what it is. But I kind of blame his struggles on the coaching choices tonight. But he's going to have to work on his defense. He must be intentional. At 23 years old, he's already older than a lot of our younger guys. So the margin for error for him to get better probably isn't as far as it pertains to how much you expect from his upside. He's going to have to get better soon. And that is the area of emphasis. He must become a more effective defensive piece, because if he's as bad as he looked tonight, it's going to be hard to play him. I don't give a damn how many points he can score. If he's giving up more, the shots and the scoring is empty, and it's not going to equate to us being successful. And with the problems that we have offensively, defensively with other players, that's not a problem we can afford. So that's something we said when we drafted him. It's not his fault that everybody around him can't play defense, but it is something that we're going to have to manage. So that's what I saw down there. It was too many blow-bys, man. It was glaring. And I already got to deal with Austin and D'Lo with that problem. This is going to be a big problem if he can't become more effective. Effort is one thing. Love effort. But if it doesn't equate to any success, we already got that problem in two other mainstay players. So, yeah, that's a thing. And you just saw the team look better when Gabe Vincent and Max Christie were kind of down there together playing defense. Jackson Hayes. I just felt like our defense was so much better when those players were on the floor. Defensive-minded dudes. So I don't know what that means for our rotation. Obviously, we got Vanderbilt coming back. He also will have a lot to say about that defensively. Cam Reddish defensively helped us. You know what I mean? We got defensive guys, but unfortunately, they're not the same guys that are going to score the ball. So we just got to mix and match, do the best we can, and find rotations that work, and that's what the preseason is for. So keep experimenting, JJ. Keep doing your homework. I know you'll come up with something. I have all the faith in your mind for this game. So that's really what I got to say. I think, you know, we improved upon some of the things around the margins, as he said. I think we rebounded a little closer to what we would hope to rebound against a team like this who rebounds well. But we did give up some second chance points, found ourselves out of position, stuff like that. That's what kind of, you know, catered to my statement about speed. I just felt like the Phoenix Suns were a bit quicker to the ball, quicker reading, you know, some of their rebounding situations, stuff like that. Little stuff, nothing too glaring, but they cost us some key possessions down the stretch of the game that I'm sure we would love to have. And we just got to reel in the young players. You know, we went young down the stretch of the game. We didn't have anybody really old on the team down there in the fourth. And you know, they gave up the lead, man. They took some bad shots. They turned the ball over. And you know, it's just early preseason stuff. Turnovers were a little frustrating. I think we ended up with like 19 of them. Most of them self-inflicted turnovers off of missteps and stuff like that. We just got to reel it in. Practice is going to tell the story there. The better we do in practice, the better we'll be on the floor. So that's why I say practice is so important, man. Because if you make the mistakes on the floor, it's just going to be indicative of you not doing enough in practice. And I don't peg JJ as being that type of coach, but we have been that type of unit over the last 2 years. That just didn't practice and made a lot of those type of mistakes. So yeah, let's fix that right here and now. And yeah, man, I mean, I hate to be the guy, but I just blame this on the lack of development of the players we're relying upon versus the more seasoned players that the Phoenix Suns relied upon on their bench. You know, Damian Lee, Josh Okogie, those guys have been around for a while now. Gillespie, he played some years with the Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken. They just have more refined players. And then you look at like Iguodala was fantastic out there. I mean, he was spectacular, and that's something that's starting to reoccur now. Now we have what is starting to become a pattern: backup power forwards having big games against our bench. Tonight it was Iguodala. In the last game, it was the guy from Minnesota. His name has escaped me at the moment, but Josh, whatever the heck his name was. But he went off. We went for like 9 or 12 or something like that from the field. Iguodala also had a big game. So we're going to have to figure out what we can do to slow down these power forwards that are coming off these benches, kicking our backside, and what's allowing them to get off like that. Because it's now a pattern that we can see. The data's there. So, yeah, man, that's something I'm looking at. And, you know, Max Christie's passing issues, you know, I think I have a keen eye for missed passes from Max Christie because I have it in my mind that he's a terrible passer. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I want Max Christie to get the ball to a guard right away. If he's going to get a board, get the ball to a guard, bro. Get the ball to Jalen, get the ball to Austin, get the ball to D'Lo, whoever's on the floor with you, get the ball to Vincent. I don't really want him in positions to have to make plays for others. He's a willing passer, but he's a very inaccurate one, man. And some of the plays that went wrong down there, a couple of them, were because of his missteps there. So, like I said, I'm just looking for that a little more than probably most people are. And I see that that's continuing to be something that he's going to have to work on. And if I were in the coaching staff, we would be working on passing drills. All them little drills that they do at the All-Star game, when they have the little passing drills that they have, that the little, you know, obstacle course where they force you into passing the ball, chest pass, bounce pass, whatever that crap is. He needs to be doing that more than most to get his accuracy straight when it comes to passing the rock. Until then, I don't really need him running the ball down the court, and I don't really need him looking to make passes for too many people until we get those reps in practice. So that's an area of emphasis that I've been talking about for over a year now, and I really need the coaching staff to zero in on the tape for Max Christie in regards to just how often his passes are wildly inaccurate, and then run some drills for him. So that's something that absolutely needs to happen, especially if we're going to lean on him as much as we have to it this year. So yeah, man, that's really a thing, dude. Just development of players and being patient with the young guys as they continue to try to figure themselves out in these heightened roles that our franchise continues to force these guys into. It's the reality of our circumstance. So yeah, man, Cam Reddish was a standout. Bron and AD stand out for me. Gabe Vincent starting the season off pretty well. Rui bounced back pretty strong in this one. I thought he was better in this one, although we had some moments down there where he was also getting blown past defensively. Stuff like that is a little frustrating. Asking him to play the 3, I don't really believe in it. But we got to make do. So I'm not complaining too much. D'Lo had a pretty nice first half for the most part. Shot some threes, some really spectacular ones as usual. Some lazy passes there from D'Lo. I thought that he'd probably love to have a few of those passes back, stuff like that. But ultimately, he had a pretty strong game. Seems like he's a little going through the motions for me as a vet going into preseason. So, you know, I'm sure he'll get it together. I'm not worried about D'Lo. He looked pretty good tonight. The activity of Jackson Hayes was good early on. I thought he might have got a little winded. Maybe it was a little outside of his wheelhouse as it pertains to some of the things we were asking him to do. Didn't hit his free throws as well. Missed some chippies that I need him to make. His limitations are on display. He's not a great player, but I thought the effort for Jackson Hayes was pretty good. And I thought we looked pretty good with him down there. AD was asked to be a power forward tonight for a second in the second quarter with Jackson Hayes. I like that dynamic. I think JJ should explore that with not only Jackson, but any other center out there, and let AD try to take advantage of that power forward position, for which I know he can play well. I know people are married with him being the center as a Laker, but I'm not one of those people that don't believe he can play the 4. He can definitely play the 4. So I thought he was able to seal some people out and shoot over some people on a particular possession that I think of. While playing the floor 4, he was easily able to shoot over the 4 they had down there. Weak side help situations on bigs. I think he flourishes in those circumstances, and we just haven't put him in enough of those positions throughout the time he's been a Laker. We just ain't giving him enough opportunities to do it. I like his aggression from behind the arc. We would like to get his attempts up from behind the arc this year. People think of him as a bad 3-point shooter, but the eye test tells me otherwise. He just needs more attempts more often, more quality attempts at that. And I thought we looked for some good ones tonight from him, and he hit one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So that was pretty good. Austin Reeves' 3-point shooting was pretty terrible, as we talked about already. I don't know what's going on with his shot. His rookie season, it was fantastic from behind the arc. This year, complete opposite. Last year, complete opposite. We're starting off where we were, and it's a bit frustrating. Hopefully he can get his shot under him. I know he likes to take these long 3-point shots from like 3 steps from behind the line, but to be honest with you, maybe taking a step forward and shooting closer to the line might be what he needs to do. I'm not really sure, but it's not falling, and that's just not the start we need after the bad shooting year he had last year. So that's a real thing for me. When he's shooting well, it helps us with the circumstances of other players who can't play defense, who can't score, but do play defense, who don't score, and ultimately, kind of takes away from the pressure of those guys to do so. And, of course, anybody that's having a cold night on top of that. This was one of those nights where with him having a cold night, and then you look at Max having a cold night and Connect having a cold night, you just can't withstand that. There's no way to withstand that without Bron and AD. So, yeah, I need Austin to find his shot from behind the arc again. So, yeah. But at the end of the day, tale of 2 halves. This is exactly what I was preparing people for at the halftime video. If you go back and listen to it, you know exactly where I was coming from. It's just, you won the first half. That's an entirely different game because you know you're not bringing your starters back. And if you have to go to your bench, it really, kind of exposes where our weaknesses are at this point. So, development is everything, man. We got some good minutes out of some guys that need the ball. Some good, who need the playing time, and I think that's a step in the right direction no matter how they play, really, since some of these guys didn't get any minutes last year. So hopefully in the next one we'll see even more variety of people. We didn't see Olivari tonight. We didn't see Max Lewis tonight. We didn't see Traore tonight. So I need those guys to play against the Milwaukee Bucks on Thursday. I believe that game is at 5, but I'm not sure. We'll check and we'll talk about it before then. But the game will be in Milwaukee, and so we'll get a chance to see Prince and Darvin Ham do that dance they love to do, because we'll definitely be in their house. And we got the Phoenix Suns again in this preseason. We got to see the Warriors twice in this preseason, so we're going to see a reoccurring dose of the same teams. And, of course, the Phoenix Suns we see twice at the start of the regular season as well, so we're going to see them 4 times in the month of October. We'll be plenty tired of these guys. And judging by how they played us, they're going to be physical each and every time. So we better be very careful with them as well. So just what I expected, man. Just what I expected. Phoenix Suns bench just outplayed us in the second half after we took care of their starters in the first half. And it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Nothing I saw really surprised me at all. We got to stop the bleeding. If a guy's struggling in the regular season, you got to get him off the floor, man. I mean, that's what it really comes out to. In the preseason, it's fine, but in the regular season, when it really counts, I can't be leaning on Bronny when he's having a night like this, bro. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.